Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Billy Iuso on the Brides of Jesus.
We kind of started with this a little bit, you being from the Northeast and, kind of getting maybe a start up there. That scene that you were a part of in the early 90s, you kind of mentioned, as your connection personally to Seeing the Dead maybe shifted as you're starting to do your own thing.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you're, New York, Wetlands. Like, was that a total culture shock or was that just right for the time?
No, it was right for the time. I didn't know how magical it was until I look back on it now. I mean, it was a great time for us. There weren't a lot of bands touring like there are now, especially at the level I was at. Like, I was one of the only cats that I knew that was willing to drive in a van for hours and go do that. And that's why we grew so fast with Brides of Jesus, because we were opening for all these bands as they broke open. We opened for Dave Matthews at the Ivory Tusk, in '94. That was a big one because we did like about 10 shows on that tour, and it was his album that busted. We started the tour in a van, and at the end of it, it was tour bus time. Like, so he had just blown up like completely in that time frame. Um, I gotta say that to this day, I went to work for Dave when I was working for the Funky Meters. We opened for him one night, and he came up to me and recognized me after all those years and all the people he knew. He remembered my name, and I was blown away by that. He just knew one of the guys. He's like, yeah, remember the Ivory Tusk when you opened and your keyboard player wouldn't play? And I was like, yeah, how do you remember that? But so that also taught me a valuable lesson, is to be as personable as you can.
Dale Carnegie. The sweetest thing to anybody's ears is their own name.
It's true. It's true,
Yeah.
huh?
So let me hear the story about the keyboard player. You mentioned that. Now I got to ask what.
That's going to be my next thing too. It's like,
No, oh man, I had this guy, Fred Parker. He was a wild cat. He was just, he was into the whole vibe of everything. And back then I was the business guy running the band, and we have an hour to play. Let's get set up and do it. And he was like, well, I don't want to set up here because the light isn't on me right, or I don't feel like this corner of the stage. It was something minimal, like, and I was just like, bro, you can stand on the side of the stage while we do this show then. And overhearing with Dave Matthews behind us. But then again, back then, Dave was just another scrawny kid with a guitar, like, behind us. We didn't really even know who he was at the time. Like, so, but we were one of the first bands out of the Northeast to, not that we were playing the big rooms, but we were opening those shows. And I did a lot of them. I mean, I did a lot of shows, from Tramps to all the way down to Tipitina's. My first time playing Tipitina's was an opening act, in 92 or 93. So,
yeah.
yeah.
That was kind of that era too. Kev, I'm just thinking of, some other friends of the show, like From Good Homes was kind of doing their thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was a big room down there back then. They played there all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a great time also to be getting into live music as well, because
Absolutely.
like you said, the bands that were out doing their thing, you could see them a lot. And
yeah, there was still a record machine pushing those albums to get to us too. I mean, nowadays I don't know how you do it, but obviously, but back then there still were those, the Spin Doctors and Blues Traveler. They had those albums that they really got out there and made everybody hear. And and I jumped from the New York bands. I got a lot of love from the Widespread Panic camp. So I had moved to Athens, Georgia with my band because we were playing in the Southeast more than anywhere else. So it made sense to be located down there. But that dried up. There was a big frat scene where it could pay financially for a band all week and you could go play the clubs for the rest of the dates. That's what kind of the formula I had back then. We would play one frat show a week that would pay for the whole week, and then we'd go play for whoever in the rooms, the ones that people were hanging at. So, but it was a magical time, and it's almost like two lives to me. I mean, I sit here with my family now who doesn't know anything about that other than my stories. And then now, and I've been blessed. I mean, in that aspect, I was just a kid who wanted to play in a band, and here I am now, 54 years old, and I still don't have a job. So it's a success.
100%. And, you're talking about kind of that formula, right? Of like, we can do these things and they're going to give us the opportunity to go out and do this other stuff. I mean, do you think that's even realistic these days for somebody starting out? I mean, it feels to me like that was a very pivotal time where you could still do those things.
No, I was asked this question just recently. My son plays baseball in high school, and I was with the parents of the, and they're all like, find me interesting because I'm a musician and not punching a time clock. But so I said that, I said, would they ask me that straight up, would you do that now? And I said, I don't know if there's an opportunity for that now. It's very difficult. I don't know how you would do it now. I mean, hotel rooms back then were $30-$40, so we'd get 1 or 2 hotel rooms, all pile in the van and do it. Now, you got $200 a night for each room, and none of us are sharing rooms anymore. So, I mean, it's a whole different world. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are some kids out there piling in a van and doing the best they can, but I don't know how easy it is.
And the pay hasn't gone up proportionately.
At all. Let's be fair. It really hasn't. If you want to look, I make better money than I did personally now, but when I look back at the 90s, it wasn't that much different considering it was that long ago. I mean, it really is. It is still that struggle. And I don't think there's as many promoters out there or DJs that are taking the risks to play or hire these bands either. I just think it's such a financial game. And let's face it, most of the venues are owned by 2 companies anyway nowadays. So it's very difficult.
We try to do something we call up and coming. And like bands, the new bands, get them one, talk to them. A lot of time, we had this band Sponge out of Oregon, and the whole band showed up, plus their sound guy. So I had 6 people. We had 6
kind of in a row. It was so great.
Yeah.
And it was a great chat. But, they were stoked. And
they were all there in a van. They're like, we'll sleep in the van on top of each other. We don't care.
That's great to hear. Because, I mean, where I'm at these days, I don't hear those conversations anymore. I hear, oh, I had to share a room with so-and-so, I mean, but I'm glad that they're still out there and excitement in it, trying to knock down the door. I mean, my oldest son is a drummer, but he has gone the education route. He plays gigs, but his income comes from education. So, and I don't blame him, and I think it's partly because he saw me struggling and he knew he didn't want that, but, it's just a different world. And I'm glad that there are kids willing to climb in a van and do it. And I hope that never goes away for all of us, for all our sakes.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.